Okay, we have the final little bit on our hybrids. I want to make a comment about sequence here because the juxtaposition of the audio and the video didn't work out too well at the beginning of this. And I could make a comment about the equipment I'm using, but when I do that, I always have this voice in the back of my head saying, "A poor workman always finds fault with his tools." So anyhow, I'll just kind of warn you that things are not exactly as well, shall we say sequenced as well as I'd like to. But the other thing I just want to mention has to do with the term that I'm using, hybrid. Someone asked me a question. They said, "Well, why don't you call it mixed media? Why hybrids?" And it's a good question. I call them hybrids simply because in my mind they are visually much more combinations of more disparate elements. Like when you think about mixed media, you're often working with something that a person who isn't familiar with it could walk up and look at it and not even know that you combined things like paint and chalk or maybe pastels or who knows what else. But the hybrids usually are things that are visibly composed of more disparate elements, things that are just usually not thrown together, like putting a computer together with a painting, or putting a coat hanger together with who knows what else. And with that, I want to pass on to show you about 5 minutes of some more hybrids. Hang on. And we take the fourth and last look at the hybrids, and we see things like the Rutherford machine. Ernest Rutherford, who was a pioneer in nuclear physics. And there is yours truly. Dmitry Mendeleev, the guy who developed the chart of the elements. Some of them deserve very little comment. Camels in the desert, and me out when I was doing archaeology, and the camera that took the picture, it's a woodcut. The factory where the mainline works was located, an art project, and experimenting with various kinds of things. You'll see circuitry showing up. A very early hybrid. That's an earlier form of the one you just saw. And that's a computer. It's called Egbert. This is both painted and printed imagery. Those orangish shapes are prints. And here's another combination of a lot of stuff. That's a telephone answering system that used to be in my kitchen. My Greek Island, a drawing and also a little bit more. Number 16 of the series with some circuitry. And here we have more experiments with various types of stuff. Electrical gauges and paint. It's called the oozing star. And here we go to experiment with plexiglass and plywood and paint. And there is more experiments. A lot of these hybrids were simply experiments trying to do something. Louis Chang was one of my teachers. And that girl showed up on a box of hair color, and I painted her. And that girl showed up nowhere. She just came out of my imagination, and I made a woodcut. Jose Guadalupe Posada was a Mexican artist, a printmaker. That guy was a friend of my granddad Miller, a miner from Revlock. And that guy was my great-great-granddad, Sam O'Hara. That used to hang above the stove in the kitchen where I lived. That was over at St. Vincent. That's the central part of a triptych, a piece that involved 3 disparate elements, and something from that's the picture that appeared in the previous one. That's Bill Davey out front of his store. An old type case. They make nice things to work with. Walworth was once the biggest plant in town, hiring more than 1,000 people, a couple thousand. That's my computer. Another type case. They make nice things. And there we are with the Rutherford machine. Maybe we've said enough, and we'll shut this down and say so long.